Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Nick at stridewise.com, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Comfort Craftsman from R.M. Williams. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you may have picked up on the fact that despite having lived in New York City for many, many years, which has kind of mangled my accent, I grew up in Australia. And everyone in Australia who I know has been asking me when I'm going to review the R.M. Williams boot, because this is not just Australia's most famous boot, it is an icon of Australiana. If you are a man in Australia, you have a pair of R.M. Williams boots. They're enormously popular, and the company actually outfitted the Australian Army with thousands of pairs of black Craftsmen to wear at parades. The company used to be public, but they privatized around the turn of the century, and since then they've been growing really, really quickly because the company does have a lot of appeal around the world. Bill Clinton actually wore a pair of these to his second inauguration. They export to 15 countries. I got these in Soho, here in Manhattan. And the Craftsman is R.M. Williams' signature boot, and I would not hesitate to say that it is Australia's national boot. So let's take a closer look. So this boot here is the Comfort Craftsman, which is the most popular boot from R.M. Williams. It's often contrasted with the Classic Craftsman, which has a flat leather sole and is meant to be a bit dressier. This one, on the other hand, has a more comfortable and hard-wearing rubber sole. It's oil resistant, and there's no studs or anything on the bottom, but the grip really is very good and functional. I've been wearing these myself around New York for quite a while, and they really do hold up in inclement weather, which I really, really like. There's also obviously these big tabs at the top. They really attract the eye. They can be a little bit annoying when you're wearing long pants because they can peek out the bottom of the cuff and you have to readjust your pants. That's a little bit frustrating, but they are definitely necessary to help you get the shoes on and off because obviously this is a nice Chelsea boot. Then there's the leather itself. This is hole cut leather, so it's one big piece of leather that they stitch together at the back. I think it looks really nice and clean here. There's no side stitching or anything like that. And the leather itself is yearling leather. So that means it comes from a calf that is slaughtered at a year old. So it's sort of partway between like veal calf leather and steer leather, which I think is a really interesting aspect of the product. So this leather is called yearling leather. It's made from a year-old calf. He becomes boots for his first birthday. And it's like a cross between veal calf leather and steel leather. It's like right between those two. It's soft, it's mildly grainy, and I would consider it a bit more masculine and hard-wearing than calf leather, which is often used in dressier shoes. It does wrinkle a little more easily than calf, but it wrinkles more finely than steel leather. So I've been wearing these for some time now. As you can see, it has picked up a few wrinkles here. But you know, it's not the end of the world. I like the way it wrinkles. And as I mentioned, it's whole cut. So there's no side seams here. It's stitched together at the back. And this makes for like a more solid boot, I feel. Without the side seams, it's just one long piece of leather. I really like the aesthetic for that. Some people don't, but I'm into it. And then that's just about everything I want to mention. The last thing I want to say is this color is called Chestnut. And the boot also comes in black, rum, nutmeg, and dark tan. And while it didn't look this way in the store, in a lot of lighting conditions, this leather looks pretty purple, especially if you're wearing something like burgundy pants or even light blue jeans, which I didn't mind, but if you don't want anything remotely purple, you might want to stick to the dark tan or the rum colors, which are pretty similar to one another. So when these shoes get dirty and you want to clean them beyond just like the horsehair brushing, you are going to want to use an actual leather cleaner as opposed to like a rag and some water. And when it comes time to condition and polish them, R.M. Williams makes their own products that they recommend that you use. And because yearling leather is so unusual and I'm honestly not totally sure about how to take care of it, I am inclined just to buy their products and do whatever they tell me to do to take care of this pretty unusual leather. That said, they recommend that you condition them every 4 to 6 weeks, which seems pretty frequent. I think you'd be fine conditioning them every few months, you know, depending on how often you wear them. And when it comes time to like take care of the leather or like maybe resole the boots or just get them reupholstered, one cool thing about the company is they have their own facility in Australia, which does like repairs pretty much all the time. They do 21,000 repairs per year. And the price like ranges from $50 to $225 depending on what needs to be done. A regular resoling is $125, and generally speaking, I think all of the things that they do are pretty well priced, given the fact they're going to save you from having to buy another pair of $500-something boots. All right, let's talk about this sole. This is an oil-resistant sole made of rubber. Like I said, there's no lugs, there are no studs or anything like that, so it looks very classic while still providing very modern grip and function. It's not often that you see a sole this flat that still does such a good job of providing grip, and as you can see from the side, it still looks like a classic old-fashioned boot. You don't have like a big chunky commando sole or something like that, so I really like that. Aesthetically speaking, I thought it was really good. Also note this has a square toe, which is very characteristic of the brand, but the leather rounds it out a bit, so like it's not too blocky at all like that. Like again, aesthetically speaking, it's very, very pleasing. And it has this subtle sewn welt as well. So it's relatively easy to resole, and the welt goes underneath the heel at the back for like a sleeker silhouette. So it's sort of like a 270-degree welt almost. And a lot of guys really like that just because a sleeker heel, a slimmer silhouette there. For some people, it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing and a bit more fashion focused. So that could be good news for a lot of guys out there. And then one thing that's also really unusual about the construction is that it contains instead of a steel shank, it has a fiberglass shank, which they call airport friendly, which I liked. And that reinforces the shape and provides really good arch support. The arch support and the heel support as well is really fantastic, partly because there's some padded heel lining, so it does a great job of absorbing shock. I really like that aspect of the shoe. So the sizing is going to be pretty confusing for most Americans on these boots. They use sizes that are sort of similar to British sizing. So for me personally, I'm between an 11.5 and a 12 on a Brannock device. Almost all of my boots are size 11, including like Thursday boots and Red Wing and Wolverine and Viberg and everyone else practically. These are a 10.5 and they fit me pretty well. And also as far as the widths go, they have F and G and H, as opposed to what you normally see in America, which is like B, C, D, E, double E, and triple E. I was a G, which they say is most analogous to a D, but they also say that F is the size which is meant to fit most people. F is meant to be somewhere between a C and a D in American sizing. It's very confusing. It's really frustrating, I think. I was glad that I had a store to try these on in. If you want to get them online, there is, to be fair, a very detailed instructional video on R.M. Williams' website detailing how to find your fit. It involves like standing on a piece of paper and making measurements and putting tape around your foot, which is going to be very cumbersome and frustrating for a lot of people, but because these sizes are so unusual, I would recommend you do it if you can't get into a store to try them on. Once you get the right fit, once you actually have the shoes and they fit well on your foot, they are not hard to break in at all. This leather is really, really nice. It's soft, but it is very hard wearing as well. Again, the yearling leather, it's a really nice sort of balance between like tough and soft, and they're just so comfortable. Like these shoes are insanely stupid comfortable. I love wearing them. It sort of looks like a leather sock and it kind of feels like I'm wearing socks as well. I really love the feel of these boots. The arch support is great. The heel absorbs shock really well. And by and large, definitely some of the most comfortable boots I've ever worn. So as far as the price goes, a pair of Comfort Craftsman boots is going to set you back 545 American dollars. That's what it costs online. That's what it costs in store in Soho where I got these. And if you want to get the Classic Craftsman with the leather sole, it's the same price. They do also have one called the Signature Craftsman, which is made of like veal calf leather and has like extra fine stitching. And there's like the signature of the shoemaker on the bottom and a couple of other perks. That one's $1,000. These ones are $545, which I think is enough. So there are a lot of things that I really liked about the Comfort Craftsman. First off, I really like this leather. The yearling leather is just like a really great compromise between veal leather and steel leather. It's kind of the best of both worlds. I mean, it's not perfect, but I really like this like meshing of comfort and softness with functionality and durability that it definitely achieves. Does a really good job of that. I like the look. It's a single piece. It's whole cut leather. I think it looks really good. It's a very nice, like smooth, sleek, uncomplicated silhouette. It's not super formal. I mean, the black ones are pretty formal, but the other ones, they're not that formal. Nonetheless, I think they really work in a good variety of situations. I like this smooth sole. I like it. It doesn't have too many studs or anything like that, but it still provides a ton of grip. You can resole it as well. You can send it off to the factory anytime it needs repairs. I kind of like the fiberglass shank as well in there, which could help you get through a metal detector a little bit more quickly. And then, I mean, finally, all of this comes together to make just an insanely comfortable boot. I'm crazy about these boots. I want to wear them all the time. I literally like wear them around my house. So I'm just sitting there watching a movie just because they feel great on my feet. It sounds like I'm making that up. I'm not. They're insanely comfortable. And that is a quality that they have. It honestly surpasses almost any other pair of boots that I've got. There are a few things you might not be quite so crazy about with these boots. Number one, these double tabs here, definitely very useful for getting the shoes on and off, but it does get a little bit annoying in that they often peek out from underneath the cuffs of your pants and you have to be mindful of them all the time, look down, make sure it's not happening. That's definitely not a deal breaker, but you know, it did bug me a bit. Another thing that's definitely going to frustrate a lot of Americans is the fit and sizing. It frustrated me, and I grew up in Australia, having to figure out like what the width you are and what the length you are. Unless you have a store to go in and try them on, it's hard to be 100% confident in the size you're picking online, so I can see that being a bit of a drawback for some people. With the conditioning, it seems to be unusually frequent. They recommend doing it every 4 to 6 weeks, and like, while I'm sure that you probably don't have to, you know, very few other people are using yearling leather. I feel like I kind of just have to do what they tell me to do with the conditioning. Every 4 to 6 weeks, that's pretty time consuming, you know? Not the most formal boots either. That's probably not a big deal, but the black boots are more formal, but these brown ones, they're not gonna fit in with a suit very well. And then finally, there's the price. These are $545 for a pair. That is definitely on the pricier side when it comes to footwear. They are very durable. They'll fix them for you if they break for a price. But I mean, in my experience, a lot of people are pretty comfortable spending $300 something on a pair of boots, but it does get pretty hard to justify spending over $500 on a pair of boots. All right, so those are my thoughts on the Comfort Craftsman boot from R.M. Williams. The full, very long written review is in the description below, and make sure you subscribe because I live and breathe boots and I have a ridiculous number of boot reviews coming up.